What is up, you guys? It is your boy, Phoenix Brenton here, and today we have ourselves the last team until we get to my favorite teams with the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, before we get into today's video, like and subscribe. We are on the road to getting to 700 subscribers. I also have a playlist of every team in the NFL, and if your favorite team isn't there, I just probably haven't uploaded yet, which is the Seahawks and Packers. But anyways, enough said. Let's get into the video. And the Raiders. Boy, I left one of the good teams for last, man, because this team did a lot of things during the offseason. Like, for example, they did lose some players. Like, for example, Artie James, Gardner Minshew, Alexander Madison, Trevon Merrick. But the thing is when I said all those names, none of them are really major. Even Nate Hobbs wasn't even a major loss. But boy, they did kind of gain some stuff. Well, also they lost Christian Wilkins, which I'm not going to talk about that entire situation. No. So, what did they gain during the offseason? Simple. They got Geno Smith through a trade, which is a way better quarterback than Gardner Minshew, and I think everybody can agree with that. Jermaine Pratt, solid. Raheem Mostert, who's still solid. Jeremy Chin, solid. So, they gain a lot of, genuinely solid and not bad players. And I feel like a lot of people kind of underestimate their offseason and them getting Geno Smith. Like, Geno Smith is now reuniting with Pete Carroll at head coach. You know how kind of important that was to his development? It's actually pretty darn important. And then obviously, I can't talk about this team without talking about Ashton Jeanty. Arguably, one of the hypest prospects heading into the 2025 season and the 2025 NFL draft. Could potentially be probably one of the best rookies out of this draft, potentially, but also could be potentially one of the worst because of all the hype and expectations that Ashton Jeanty ends up having. And also, I liked their focus through the draft. Like, for example, their next pick, they went and got Jack Beck out of TCU, which is a very, very solid pick. You need to increase the amount of receivers that you have. And then they have Darren Porter, who's a corner. Then they got an offensive lineman. Then they went and got a tackle, which I mean defensive tackle. Oh, wait, no, it's an offense. It's another offensive lineman, sorry. And then in the fourth round, they went and got another wide receiver and a defensive tackle. Like, what they kind of did through their draft was kind of focus a lot of different positions. Like, they went and got, like, quarterbacks. They went and got corner. They went and got offensive line, wide receiver. Like, they went and got players that this team needed. And that's exactly what they did. Which I think is a very smart idea, especially when you kind of have holes all over your roster currently. Then we got to take a look at their offense. And one thing I instantly noticed when I was looking at this offensive depth chart is that Jackson Powers Johnson, for some reason on ESPN's depth chart, is playing both center and right guard. So that means either Alex Kappa or Will Parna will be playing center or right guard. But Will Parna is also playing left guard. Oh, wait, no, that was Dylan, not Will Parna. All right. So just a little bit of an example. But again, like I said, you have Ashton Jeanty now. You have Geno Smith. I'm sorry about the camera. And then their wide receiving core, which I kind of think is a little underrated. Obviously, again, you got your two rookie receivers, Dante Thornton Jr. and Jack Beck, kind of fighting for playing time. But then they have Trey Tucker and Jacoby Myers. I feel like Jacoby Myers is one of those receivers that I feel like is kind of getting slept on. Yeah, he had like 4 touchdowns last year. But do not forget, this guy had over, I think, 1,000 yards last year. Yeah, this guy had over 1,000 yards last year. The most yards he's ever gotten in his career, in a season. So don't forget that. This guy is still a very, very solid wide receiver. I mean, maybe not a WR1, but very solid. And he doesn't even have to be the number one target because they have Brock Bowers, who's one of the best tight ends in the league right now. I think it's too early, though, to say that he's the best tight end in the league. I don't think, though, it's early to say he's easily a top 5 tight end in the league. Their offensive line, very solid with Colleen Miller and then obviously Jackson Powers Johnson, who they drafted last year or the year before that. I don't quite remember. And then their defense. Don't forget Max Crosby. He's always such a big player. Tyreek Wilson, who knows, he could break out this year. I don't really like fully saying that a guy's a bust until it's year 3 and we still haven't seen anything yet. They also have Michael Kuna. They also, again, got Jermaine Pratt. They got Devin White in terms of the linebacking core. And then their secondary, which they added Eric Stokes through the offseason, which isn't a big addition, honestly. Dylan Porter, who's one of their corners. Daddy Holmes. And then their safeties, Jermaine Chin and Isaiah Pullman. And also, sorry if I pronounced the names wrong. Their secondary is a very big concern, kind of outside of Jermaine Chin. Honestly, just in general, their defense is a bit of a concern. But obviously, you still have Max Crosby. You got Jermaine Chin. Like, your defense is always going to be solid. As long as Max Crosby stays healthy, I think everything should just be fine. And your offense has a lot of potential to be really, really good this year. Now, it does suck that this is easily the worst team of probably one of the toughest divisions and could, again, be the toughest division in football in the AFC West. And it also doesn't help the matter that they're also probably the toughest coaching division in football. And that is not a debate. Whoever says that a division with Andy Reid, Pete Carroll, Jim Harbaugh, and Sean Payton is not the toughest coaching division in football, I don't know then what is. But that's my personal opinion. So now, obviously, let's go talk about their floor before we get to their ceiling. And starting off, obviously, I think they will lose to the New England Patriots on the road. I think you will get the win at home, though, against the LA Chargers. Because you normally just win one game against the Chargers every year. Then you lose on the road against the Commanders, lose at home against the Bears, lose on the road against the Indianapolis Colts. I do think you can get the win, though, at home against the Tennessee Titans. Then you get the loss on the road against KC. Then with the bye week, you get the win at home against the Jacksonville Jaguars. You lose to the road against the Broncos. Then you get the win at home against the Dallas Cowboys. Then you win again, so back-to-back wins at home against the Browns. Then you lose on the road against the Chargers. I do think you can get the win at home against Denver, but then you lose on the road against Philly and Houston. Then you get a win at home against the Giants, and then you lose at home against the Chiefs. So my worst case scenario, and this is actually a lot lower or a lot higher than I initially thought it would be. I have their worst case scenario at a 7-10. I mean, maybe 6-11 actually, probably with the loss at home against the Chargers, and also the loss at home against the Broncos would make it like 5-12. But just like as an example. Then best case scenario, I still think you will lose to New England on the road. And then you still get the win at home against the Chargers. You lose on the road against the Commanders, but you get the win at home against the Chicago Bears. You get the win on the road against the Indianapolis Colts. You get the win at home against Tennessee. You lose on the road against the Chiefs. Bye week, you beat the Broncos. Or not the Broncos, the Jacksonville Jaguars at home. I think you'll actually could potentially beat... No, I don't think you can actually. Never mind. You lose on the road against Denver. Then you get back-to-back wins against the Cowboys and Browns still at home. You lose on the road against the Chargers. You get the win at home against Denver. Then you lose on the road against Philly and Houston. You get the win against the Giants, and then you get the win at home against KC. So my best case scenario, I have this team going 10-7. So their floor is around 6-11, and then their ceiling is 10-7. So it's a very just kind of mediocre team this year. I would be more confident if they just had like Nate Hobbs, for example, at the secondary. But they don't have him anymore. So, but this is a very interesting team to look at. Maybe my underdog in the AFC, or it's the Patriots. I don't know. It's one of those two teams that might be my underdog heading into the season. So watch out, because this team's going to be way better than it was last year. I'll tell you that much. But anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoy. We are almost done with the series finally, and that means we only have 2 teams left for next video, which will be the Packers and the Seahawks. But anyways, guys, hope you guys enjoy. Peace.